the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about, and this is one of the bigger concerns that I've had, is in this current political moment. Okay. Well, I shouldn't say current because we're in a state of realignment, but in the previous one that we've had over the last couple of years, there have been several victims, we'll say. I hate to use that term, but that's who that's what we're dealing with. And yes, it has a lot to do with DC United. I don't know if you wanted to get into this, but I know this is something that I know you weren't terribly aware of this. I don't
know what we're talking about.
Oh, sorry. So imagine this. You've got a player that comes over from an Austrian team. You get him to the club in 2022 and he sets the league on fire. We're talking about this gentleman, the gentleman whose jersey hangs behind me, and that would be Taxiarchis Fountas. I've been wanting to talk about this situation with somebody, anybody, and get their thoughts about this. This is something that I've covered for now several years. Who is Taxi Fountas? Well, Taxiarchis Fountas is striker out of Messalongi, Greece. He's played for a lot of clubs over the last, I don't know, like 10, 11 years now. And for about a year, he played for the portion of the 2022 and the first half of the 2023 season. He played for DC United. He set the league on fire when he first came in, and I'll just play a little bit of what, like, just to get you up to speed as to who this brother was. Hold on, let me just make sure I get this, and here we go.
Julian Gressel arrives and serves. Now Fountas coming through. Oh, it's in the net! It's in the net! And it's in the net! Who's at the DC? Taxi Fountas! That's what he does.
In this fashion, Brad Knight love.
Scoot up to the next one here.
Taxi. Gressel, what a ball for Taxi Fountas. The cross, it's in the net! Oh, it's in the net!
This was Michael Estrada's only goal, by the way. That was his only goal that year.
That was perfect.
Showing his quality. Gonzalez.
And then
Estrada.
Last one.
Defending. Durkin. Ricochets off poster. Fountas, Taxi, the shot. Oh, it's in the net! It is in the net! Do you believe this guy?
That man,
that boy good.
That was his first game. 2 goals and an assist. He set the league on fire. He had a hat trick the same year. The guy is just an automatic scorer. And he was for 2022. I mean, even though that was our wooden spoon season, we got beat like 13-0 by Philadelphia Union on aggregate that season. And, you know, we had three what did we have? 3 coaches in 2022. That was a rough year. It was a very rough year. And he was a big bright spot. In September of 2022, there was an incident in a match where we played Inter Miami at home. There was a tie-up. I was trying to find the video of this. The incident happened somewhere in the 55th minute, and Fountas was accused of using a racial slur towards a black player. it never sat well. Now, the thing was, it didn't sit well with me because, for one, he was subbed off in the 65th minute, and the league dragged out this investigation. I actually found a. Let me see if I can bring it up again. I found a video of this guy, of Phil Neville, a post-game interview. Hold on, let me find it here. It is. Wait a minute. I'm looking for it. Bear with me a second, because I thought I had it laid. I thought I had it here. Yeah, here we go. And we'll bring that up. And hold on a second. Pardon. I'm doing production on the fly. Hang on one second. And stop screen. Present. All right.
Alexi, how's your Sunday been?
Yeah, pardon me.
Good.
Pardon me.
It's good. It's good.
I do apologize, guys.
Hope it's still going well for you.
It's going well. I mean, look, I like I said before, this is interesting to me. Again, to get a peek into experiences that you guys have and have had over the years, and so I appreciate you letting me kind of hang out here. I am fascinated by the it's not underground, it's not niche anymore, but the advent of sports media. In this case, we're talking about soccer and the platforms, obviously, and the technology that exists. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. It's a good thing. And I'm from back in the day when we started with like fanzines, and then it went to like big soccer boards and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was on big soccer.
Right. So then, this maturation process has been fascinating to see, and I think is really important and good for the game. And so, whether it's something like this that we're doing, or any of the other thousands that are out there, I always enjoy them. I always find time, because I learn something from them. And from my place where I am in soccer, I've had a lot of experiences over the years, but it's changing so rapidly and evolving so quickly that it's important for me, I think, to be talking to people like you and others out there. Again, people I agree with, and people I disagree with, but it doesn't matter.
Actually, you're a true man of the people, brother.
I don't know.
Yes,
about
you
that.
are.
I mean that seriously.
Yes, you are.
I'm a wise ass, but I do mean that.
So here's the post-game interview of Phil Neville, and I watched this. It's the first time I actually watched this. Was doing a little bit of, I guess further. Like I was trying to tighten this up. I watched this video for the first time, and nothing about this sat right with me after I watched it. Here we go. Come on.
Holy shit, man, this is crazy.
Jesus Christ.
That was one crazy press conference.
This is ridiculous.
Is that a Komodo dragon? What is that, a Gila monster?
Oh, my goodness gracious. Come on. I don't want to.
Yeah, we got to finish the game now, is there?
Yeah.
Let's get the 12 points.
Ridiculous. There we go.
There he is.
Got to address probably main issue. It's probably an issue that maybe in the past it's probably been swept under the carpet, but we're a football club that's very proud of our diversity and inclusion in our staff and our supporters, and I think there's no place at all for racism on a football field, in society. I've just been speaking to the owners, all three owners, and they 100% agree that there's no way in the world that any form of racism should be happening on a football field. And I must commend my players for keeping their calm. I must commend the referee for a really, really, really difficult situation. He followed the protocol set out by the MLS. And I must give massive respect to Wayne Rooney for dealing with it in the way that he did. I think I've always known him as a class act. I think today he went up in my estimations more than he's ever done, more than any goal that he's ever scored. I think the players were hurt, players were disappointed, and I called the players over because I've in my previous job with England, we've had lots of experiences in certain countries of racism. So we're quite briefed on how to handle these situations. I learned a lot from Gareth Southgate, being a manager, and all the FA staff in terms of. So I called the players over. I asked them if it was okay. I told them that we were going to stick together, deal with this, that it was unacceptable, that there's no forms, there's no place for racism.
I've had enough of that. Now, here's the problem with that. He never spoke. He never said exactly. He never stated what Fountas said exactly. There's a lot of beating around the bush, and which makes sense because when interviewed, you had Ismail Elfath and a couple other referee and the other refs who officiated that match. They found nothing. The league did their investigation, but the problem was the league dragged their feet on the investigation. They started that investigation in September. They didn't announce the findings of said investigation until after MLS Cup, the conference finals of MLS Cup. And just to give this very inconclusive statement, I have, goodness gracious, I don't know. I had all of this together. Hold on a minute. Yeah, I'm sorry for being a little. This is a little bit of amateur hour here. Here we go.
You
got it.
Right.
Yeah, I got it.
I was going to sing a little ditty.
Oh, no, you don't have to do that. I promise. Right. You don't have to do that.
Okay.
All right. So here we go. I can bring that up. StreamYard is awesome. I love this thing. Okay. So I'll read some of this in part. Major League Soccer has concluded its investigation into an allegation that DC United player Taxiarchis Fountas used racially abusive language towards an Inter Miami player on September 18th. MLS found that the allegation made by Ime Mabika was credible. Now, initially, they said that the racial slur was directed towards Damian Lowe. While the league investigation could not independently verify the allegation, MLS did not find credible Fountas' claim made during interviews conducted as part of this investigation that he said nothing in that moment, discriminatory or otherwise. Video of the incident clearly shows Mabika suddenly reacting to something he believed he heard from Fountas. MLS was unable to confirm independently what Fountas said in that moment, as has been the league's longstanding practice for determining player discipline for these types of allegations. So, in other words, you said something, we know you said something, but we can't confirm what exactly you said. But they dragged this investigation out for like I said, almost 2.5, almost 3 months. And the other thing that struck me about it was there was there were 2 other investigations, like Santiago Sosa and I think Cucho Hernandez were they both had investigations. They said something racial to somebody, and their investigations were open and closed in less than a week. But Taxis was the one that was dragged out. And then after that, they dragged it out, and they give this inconclusive, this vague, which was the way I read it, was okay. Well, this is as close to a exoneration as you're going to get. What are your thoughts so far about this, Alexi? I don't know if I'm running long.
No, I don't know. I don't know how long. I don't know. I mean, I remember this when this happened. So you're angry that that it was too thorough? I don't understand, because of the time that it took and the way that you read it right there. It seems to me that the league found that he did say something, but not only did they find that he say something, but that he said he didn't say anything. Right? I mean, that's the way that it read. That's the way that it read what you just said.
Taxi said that he had not used that kind of that he had not accused of using
that's
the
not what
N-word.
That's not what you just read to me. You just read to me that the league found that he said something and that he told them that he didn't say anything. That is demonstrably false, because he did say something, but they can't tell you what he said. So why would you say you didn't say anything?
I personally think that what I can surmise, because I've spoken to Taxi on several occasions about this, and he is very adamant. I did not use that word. Like, I didn't say the N-word. I didn't use any racial slurs. His English was not good at the time. Okay, so if he had said "ne," which is Greek for yes, then I understand where that could have gotten a little mixed up. But there's something, the situation just didn't smell right to me.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like a railroading of some kind, because with that vague statement, and they weren't able to just say he did not, like, we could not find that he used a racial slur. They didn't say that. They just said, "Oh, we know you said something," and that was it. And so the next incident, there were two incidents. The other incident was between him and a teammate, Nigel Robertha. This happened in July of 23. There was even less evidence. In fact, it's been reported to me that Robertha said that he told the coaches that nothing was wrong. There was some sort of incident between him and Fountas. He said, Robertha, that is, said that there was that everything was okay, and then 2 days later, he's going to the league accusing Fountas again of using a racial slur. Now I have all of the information on that, and matter of fact, I'll share some of that with you. But not too long after that, they both got placed on administrative leave. Taxi stayed on administrative leave. Robertha came back after 3 days. Ultimately, long story short, they both mutually terminated the contract. And now Taxi's back over in Taxi's in Greece now. He went to Turkey first to play for Trabzonspor, and now he's with Ofi over there in Crete.
Good old Crete.
The thing that bothers me about this situation is that it just seems like this man's entire American career was destroyed based on allegations, based on nothing but allegations. There was no hard evidence of any wrongdoing. It was just simply, we think you said something, and we're gonna make life very miserable for you, until you leave. And so it's been disturbing to me. The club lost about $5.5 million in a potential transfer fee. Because like I said, they broke the contract. They terminated the contract, and DC United went 2-4-4 and missed the playoffs at the end of 2023 because of all this.
So basically, Isaiah's mad about them missing the playoffs that year, Alexi.
Wow. No,
I'm joking. No,
I know.
This is Isaiah's friend.
Well, he became that. Yeah. He became such. Okay, I'm not going to lie. I am a little biased.
During a time of really high sensitivity about these sort of thing, and you wonder how much of it was just like a reflex, like, okay, we got to chop his head off because there's a sniff of that. I don't know. I really don't know enough of the details.
I've been trying to for going on 3 years now. because this was a bad situation. This was a guy who scored like, if I remember correctly, he scored something like it was close to like 19 goals in 36, like 34 appearances, something like that. I've got my stats a little crossed up. But this guy had a budding career in the United States, and he could have been something really great. And I think he was. I personally believe that he was a victim of cancel culture. I do.
Could be,
and that's what bugs me. I mean, what? Just looking at this situation, like, what's your take on this?
Well,
or am I reading too far into it?
No, I mean, obviously this is personal to you, so there is bias and baggage that you bring to it, and but you've admitted that, and that's fine. I would say this, when it comes to the benefit of the doubt, a player that's scoring lots of goals has incredible value, and I would think that player is going to at times be given the benefit of the doubt. You also mentioned, I think, two instances that this happened. I will say, nobody wants. I certainly don't want anybody to be falsely accused of anything, and certainly not something that is going to, deride somebody and hurt their trajectory, however great that may be going forward. So, when I think about this, that they decided at some point to mutually part ways. All right. I mean, if it was really so egregious, I would think that you would fight for it. But I also can put myself in somebody's shoes that says, you know what? I don't want to deal with this anymore. This has been a nightmare. And I just want I want to cut bait, and I want to go, and I want to try to make my life someplace else, because this is not going to work. And that is the lasting image that, whether, I know not you because you have a relationship with him, but that some people have when that name is brought up.
Yeah.
If he ultimately was not responsible at all, that sucks for him or anybody else that would be put in that type of situation. If on the other hand he did either one or both of those times do what they accused him of, then I think he got off not easy. But I think you have to deal with these things. And to your point, the timing is everything in life. And the moment in which this happened, maybe it would have been dealt differently 5 years before or 5 years after, 5 years after that. But that's just the reality of the world that we live in. I mean, we're living through a moment right now that has changed dramatically in terms of the reactions that we have, in terms of the actions that we take. So what happens today is very different than what happened in during the previous administration, or in the previous administration under Trump, or during COVID, all those different things. So again, timing is everything. I don't know enough about this case here. I hope that he goes on and continues to have a career. I hope he finds happiness both on and off the field. If he is guilty of doing this, ultimately, I hope that it was an aberration, and I hope that this is not something that he continues to do, because there is no call for it, whether it's him or anybody else here. And if and when that kind of stuff happens, you do have to nip it in the bud. And I get that in the emotion and in the moment, players do things and say things. And I want to give grace to people, because I can put myself in those types of positions. But again, it goes back to those lines that we're talking about. Where are you drawing the line, and what is unacceptable? And people in Major League Soccer, as with any league, they have to draw those lines. And when they draw those lines, there are going to be people that are going to say, yeah, but the line should be here, or the line should be here. And there are going to be people that say, yeah, but in this particular case, you have to see the nuance, and you have to see the layers and all that kind of stuff. But at some point, you have to make those types of decisions.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, he did get death threats, and they ended up having to basically pay off the place where they were staying at for like pay it off early, and they had to do a whole bunch of stuff. His son was like 3-4 years old at the time, and to just kind of pull up stakes, and his wife felt I've developed a relationship with these two, and it's like, to see what they went through. Taxi said in an interview when he was playing for Trabzonspor that he very nearly quit soccer because of it. I don't think someone who would have said something like that, I don't think they would have been contemplating quitting soccer. I also don't think that they would have. One thing I left out that I forgot to mention, rather, is that Taxi paid in the second incident. He paid for a polygraph test. He paid for his own polygraph. It was reported. It was confirmed by the Athletic, and I think it was Pablo Maurer who wrote that piece. It was just kind of glossed over, like, he paid for his own. He paid for his own polygraph. That generally doesn't mean much of anything, but but at least he did it. You know what I'm saying? It's like to me, it was like you got narrative. Not you, not you, Lex, but I'm talking like guys like Pablo Maurer at the Athletic. These guys who have this leftist who are already, they're convinced he's they were already convinced he's a racist. They were already ready to throw him out. You had RFK refugees, the podcast I mentioned earlier. The guy, like the two hosts of the show, they went on a strike, a podcast strike, basically protesting his presence on the club. And I'm like, it all just seemed excessive. It was just stupid. It's like if he did it, there would be proof. And there was no proof. And that was just, and honestly, like I said, I feel like Fountas is a very unfortunate victim of cancel culture. And that's, and really ultimately, Alexi, that's really why I want to see the culture within MLS change. Because when you get so high on your own supply, where everybody's just virtue signaling, where everybody's just like, yay, look at me, I have the right political beliefs, and I'll avoid getting thrown out of my in-group. Like, that was basically what took place there. That kind of culture has to change. And I've seen a lot of it. And not just with DC, where I'm right up on it. I see it with other clubs. I mean, Portland, Jesus Christ. They might as well be Antifa Timbers Army, you know what I mean? But that's what I'm getting at. It's like there's something wrong, and I've been trying to get to the bottom of it. And I hate that. I mean, I please forgive me for kind of dumping this on you. No. But it's been driving me insane for the last. Well, I shouldn't say insane, but it's been concerning me for the last several years.
Well, I mean, I can see that it concerns you, obviously, and look, like I said, he's a friend of yours, and so that support is admirable. Again, I don't know enough about the situation when it comes to what he did. I will say, when you're looking at Portland or others, you seem to be concerned with what has been created and what has been adopted, if you will. And we were talking earlier about the evolution of independent media and everything. Times change. MLS looks very, very different. I mean, back in 1996 when we started, sometimes I wish I could bring people back and just have them sit for a week and see what MLS was. And I'm not even talking about on the field, but yeah, even on the field, what it was, but even off the field and the environment and the climate and the landscape that it was. Mm-hmm. And any type of business, as it grows, as it gets bigger, it's going to go in different directions. And guess what? It's going to go in some directions that people like and people don't like. And there's going to be an element of grumpy old, in this case, men, that say, "Hey, this is what it used to be, and why isn't it more of that? And why has it become that?" And I am constantly trying to guard against being too grumpy, without completely abandoning my principles, without completely abandoning common sense. without completely abandoning what I think is right, whether it's something on the field or off the field, in the stadium or outside of the stadium, but with the recognition and I guess the humility that the world moves and the world changes, and it changes in ways that me, you, others at times may agree with, at times might not agree with, at times might be part of the majority, and at times might be part of the minority. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is the reality of the situation. And so when it comes to, like I said, Portland or any place else out there, at times they are going to reflect what that community is. Maybe not all of that community.
Fair enough.
And maybe not even the majority of that community, but it is going to be a reflection of that community. And either people just accept it for what it is, and from a business perspective, you have to be careful, because if it's limiting and it can't grow, then you have a problem. Or you say, this is what it is now, but it can change, and it can change and evolve. I'm not saying that Portland or anything is going to change a lot, and I'm not even saying they necessarily should. But again, it just goes back to what we started talking about at the beginning of our show. I want as many people into the tent as possible. I want to be as welcoming as possible. And to your point, too many times we're not. We're gatekeeping. We are exclusionary in the things that we do, in the things that we say, and that is detrimental to the game that I love. And I recognize that as many people come into the tent, not everybody's going to stay. They might taste test it, but that taste test, I want it to be as awesome an experience as possible. That does not mean that they agree with everything that they see, hear, or experience, but ultimately, in totality, it's something that they enjoy. And more importantly, it's something that they want to come back to. And to your point, everything that we've talked about here tonight is too many times, I think, that experience in totality, they leave and they say, I didn't feel comfortable, or I didn't feel welcome, even if we do get them into the tent. But just getting them to the tent is already a feat in and of itself.
So I've got one more question to ask you, and I don't know if Nick, you got anything, but well, it's two.
Actually, can I ask him first? I think it kind of goes along with what we were talking about. I agree with everything you just said, Alexi, by the way. That was very very well put. I will say, just separately, not as a rebuttal or anything, that I think in general, not even have to do with soccer, people should also realize that not all change is progress, right? Mm-hmm. So not all things that change, not all new things are necessarily good, not necessarily wanted, not necessarily wise to do. And I think there is a probably every young generation, but I think increasingly in our generation and the media we've seen, it seems to be like anything new that comes out of like universities or something like that is immediately we accept it and that's progress and shut up, right? And then if in a lot of it's really not wise. A lot of it actually isn't really philosophically, psychologically, sociologically going to work. Like for example, when you have people saying like, if you focus so much on diversity, for example, that's a really quick way for people to get tribal and divided with each other. Now, it's not to say that, if you're constantly focusing on this group, that group, this, like breaking them up, it's hard to be a united a group. And that's just, we know that through social psychology and sociology. And that's really what the Democrats and the left have been doing for a long time. And you can't have pluribus without the without the unum, right? The e pluribus unum. So you have to really, what we should be emphasizing. This is what any good social psychologist will tell you. I'm educated in psychology. I'm a big fan of Jonathan Haidt. I read his book, The Righteous Mind. It's back there. Really great book to understand humanity. And basically, he says, and this isn't even against woke. This is like in 2012 when he wrote this. Actually, probably 2010. And he started writing in 2011. And he's like saying, it's like, if you want to have a lot of camaraderie in a company, in a group or whatever, it's like you do not emphasize the issue of identity groups or different religious groups, sex and gender. You do not emphasize that. You should emphasize shared values. What makes us all come together? What do we all believe in? What do we all like? What do we all have in common? That's the way to do it. And we've been going completely in the opposite direction of that. And we're seeing the results of it. So that's just something I want to bring out in general. And if you have something, you want to.
Yeah, well, to add to what you were saying, I don't want it to be mistaken that I'm apathetic, because to your point, not all progress is good, and there are times
not all change is good.
Sorry, not all change is good.
Yeah,
and
they call it progress.
Exactly, but also to your point, that also means that at times fighting for or against is also necessary.
Yes.
And saying, no, this change is not good in the way that I see things. And the general I.
And people are allowed to talk about why they think this is a good idea or a bad idea. But I also am hopefully allowed to be like, hey, I think this is a bad idea and here's why. And hopefully we can just tolerate everybody doing that. But I feel like there's been a little level of not tolerating that from one end of the spectrum. But go ahead. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, but so do you think that there's a alternate universe where a bunch of more left-leaning soccer folks are sitting there saying, yeah, they don't want to have a conversation, they don't want to agree to disagree on things, but still sit down and have that debate? Or because you said you don't think the other side does that. So do you think that they're on the other side saying, we don't think the other side does that either?
I don't know. I think there's probably some people who tell themselves that. I'm not sure that that's true, because I feel like you are allowed to, I think most conservative or right-leaning people or moderates are happy to have conversations. I don't think that I don't think the conservatives are generally trying to get people fired. I think there is some versions of cancel culture from the right probably in recent years, but I feel like it's not quite as pronounced. But I'm sure there is some people who think that. But I feel like they immediately on the left, you'll see more, like in the woke left, you'll see more of like, I'm not safe, you hate me, this is violence, speech is violence is another one we've seen in recent years. So I don't see that so much from the right. I think the right has been the champions of free speech, which, as I'm sure is not the way it used to be. The left used to be the champions of free speech, and now that has changed in recent years for the most part.
It's amazing. It's amazing how things have shifted, and the priorities of one have now gone to the other, and it's this upside down, backwards type of world that we live in. But to your point, things evolve and things change.
So that actually never got to my question. So Alexi, just to shift gears real quick, did you ever, speaking of cancel culture, since you've been talking about kind of like somewhat pro-conservative or at least questioning Democrat progressive views, even in the most subtle way sometimes on Twitter, just asking a question. Did you ever find that you were like your career was in trouble? People were messaging you, emailing you, yo, Alexi, I don't know if you should be tweeting this stuff. Like, you ever experience any of that?
Yeah, you're basically asking about my red-pilled moment or whatever you want to call it. You've been making tweets like this for a while, so I'm sure there's different moments where people are like, Alexi, you got to stop with this, man. Oh my goodness. Well, to your point, there's certainly people. I have lost friends, and everybody has, and that kind of happens. Not to the extent I'm bummed in that's what ultimately change things, but
me too.
Again, I'm 54 going on 55 years old. I don't have time, and so it gives me more time to hang out with people that I find interesting. Again, don't have to agree with, but I find interesting. So I enjoy the debate. I enjoy the discussion. I grew up in a household where that was not just encouraged; it was mandatory. You needed to put yourself in the grandest way of debate. Put yourself in other people's shoes, and to be able to at least see yourself arguing somebody else's side.
Steel manning.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. So I grew up with
very important.
I grew up with that. I enjoy the jousting, if you will, and the back and forth. I fully recognize, certainly when it comes to my personality on X or online over there, that I'm poking and that I'm provocative. It's absolutely intended. I find I get more information out that way, and it's more fun to me. I look at X much more as an information gathering source, and honestly, a video game type of entertainment that I.
It is fun. It could be very fun.
That's funny.
Exactly.
That's
But
funny.
I wake up each and every day to a litany of names that I am being called and vile things that people say to me simply because of the political stuff that comes out. I keep it to X. On my State of the Union podcast, we don't get into politics, and certainly when I'm on television, although sports are politics and geopolitics are always kind of going to be part of sports, especially when I'm doing World Cups and these big tournaments. It always
USA versus Canada hockey
exactly,
Yep.
exactly.
Sure.
But I'm not sitting up there and telling people how to vote or talking about the latest thing. But it's fun. I also enjoy politics. I enjoy
me too.
The tribalism. I think it mirrors a lot of stuff when it comes to sports. Like I said, you have your sides and you argue the performative aspect of it, especially when it comes to politicians and all the different relationship building and consensus building and all that kind of stuff. I love it. There is a scoreboard ultimately at the end of the day, and there's a power and cachet that comes from the wins, and a lack of power that comes from the losses out there. So I see a lot of similarities. Obviously, sports are not even close to as important when it comes to the consequences of these types of conversations that we have or the actions that are taken by politicians. But I do see the connection when it comes to sports, and I enjoy it. I enjoy doing it. But yes, to your point, there are people that aren't going to follow me. There are people that are going to immediately not. I can tell them the cure to cancer. Like Trump the other day.
Yeah,
when he was giving his speech. Like, it doesn't matter what I say. There is a certain segment that aren't going to listen simply because of the messenger. And that's
you
that's
never got any pressure from your employers. Is ESPN
no,
in the past?
No,
Fox,
I mean, I wasn't. This has only been while I've been at Fox. I was at ESPN. It might be different. And look, if my employers came to me and said, "This is not something that we want you to do," I would respect the fact that they are my employers. We all have bosses. We all have employers at some point in our lives. And I hate to break it to you, but just because you want to do something, you can die on that hill if you want, but you're not going to get paid and you're not going to have a job. And so
exactly,
they've been very very good. I think I've done it in a balanced way. I think I've done it in a fair way. But
it's been great, yeah.
But it's also and for a long time, yeah, it is a tightrope, and I want to be very I hover over that send button.
Yeah,
like
thinking about
else, it's like, is this going to be a problem? And I hate that. Yes. I hate that there is that tight wire type of thing. I mean, if I had a way to hit a button and everybody's draft posts automatically just went out into the ether, the entire universe would just collapse.
Oh my god!
That's true. That's very true. Very well said.
Alexi, you've been, again, I want to thank you for being here. You've been absolutely fantastic.
Totally.
I have learned a lot from you in this conversation. The two questions I have. One, are you when are you drafting when are you drafting your bill to outlaw playing from the back? And I've been wanting to ask you about that. And the second question, and I'm curious about this, do you still play? Like, do you still find time to get out there to get after it?
Yeah, so I had a knee replacement a couple of years ago. I went through all my career. I was fine, not a problem. And then all I did was run. And I've been retired now for over 20 years. But all I did was run. I ran long distance and I ran on concrete. And my doctor said, listen, you can keep doing this, but eventually it's going to catch up to you. And it did. And ultimately I got a knee replacement. But I still am able to play, even with the knee replacement and charity games and doing all that kind of stuff. As it relates to playing out of the back, it's so interesting. I just had a conversation earlier today. The romantic notion. All right, listen, my mom's a poet. My dad's a professor. I grew up in a house that was adamant about trying as many different things as possible, being involved as many different things as possible growing up. And I love my parents for it. Obviously, I gravitated to sports, but they had no background in sports. They just said, hey, it keeps him out of trouble, and he's good at it. So let's let's do that. So, when I think about what was the question?
What was the
When are
question?
you playing from the back? Like when are you
playing
from
from
the
the back? So when I think
Yeah.
about playing from the back, there is this romantic notion that I don't think it's crept into the game. I just think it's kind of been in the game, but it certainly has gotten bigger. And you can blame Pep Guardiola
Yes,
or whoever,
Pep, right?
whoever
Yeah.
you want, Spain, all that kind of stuff with it. And the problem is what has become a pejorative is being pragmatic, right?
Mm.
You know what's romantic to me is winning. There's nothing more romantic than winning. If I told you guys that in 2026, Christian Pulisic and company are going to win the Men's World Cup, I don't think you or anybody watching or listening gives a crap about how it gets done. It could be the ugliest.
Yep.
And I want to say ugly again. That's just a perspective. That
Be the most Italian way possible.
Right, exactly. It could be completely defensive, long ball down the middle, no
1-0s.
possession at all, 1-0s all the way.
Yeah.
Think Greece and Portugal. Back
Yep,
in the Euros,
yep,
all
yep.
that. But nobody would care. Nobody would
No.
care at all.
No.
Now there are some
Enjoy at the
countries and
end.
cultures that they do care about that. But this playing out of the back, all it has done is created a generation that thinks that they're better than they actually are, individually as players and teams. It's also created coaches that feel in order to show their wares, in order to be worthy of attention or value, that they have to play this way. And it is, if you are Barcelona, if you are Man City or anybody else, that's all fine and well. But 99% of the other teams are not that. And
Right.
so you are trying to, paint the Sistine Chapel with crayons, right? And you can fake it,
Indeed.
but it's never going to be the beauty and the romance of the elites. And so
you might not get the results either.
Exactly. And you might not get the results. And for a coach, that's a problem because you're going to get fired. And for players, it's a problem because you're not going to be brought back and you're not going to have another contract. And you can scream and yell and say, yeah, but my coach told me I have to. They are doing things now in the modern game that I would have been fired on the spot for. Passes that people are making out of the back now that never in my wildest dreams would I have dreamt that a player would have made. And yet this is fine, whatever, and I'm sure there's data that they have, but it's just insane.
Is there an example that you can share?
Oh, every single weekend there's an example of somebody playing out of the back there where the ball gets lost and comes right. And the coaches will say, yeah, but it's a risk reward type of thing. And I just think for these teams that aren't good enough, it's one thing a risk reward if you're good enough and you're playing against inferior opposition. But these teams that aren't good enough, that risk reward changes dramatically. I'm not saying if and when they get out, it's great. But when they lose the ball, they're not only losing the ball, but they're losing it in a place that can be devastating for the other team.
100%. Basic.
It's to me losing a ball in that back third when like before the game is even before your attack is even started. To me, that's a little worse than an own goal. I personally, I'm saying this. I hate playing from the back. I hate it. I'm like it. Like I am more of a direct guy. Get it like on a goal kick.
Out of there.
I want you. Get it out of there. Get it to midfield. Get it to the middle third, or as close to the forwards as you can. I cannot stand playing from the back.
Yeah.
Like when I saw, I went to DC United's home opener a couple weeks ago, and I teased Lucas Bartlett. I told him, I said, you had a busy night in the back line. He was like, because there was a lot of playing from behind. It's like I'm with you, Lex. I cannot stand.
You don't want to do that with Rodrigo and Mbappe and Vinicius Jr.
Yeah, exactly.
Catching that ball back there.
And if you're, it's one, like parking the bus, for example. All right.
Yeah.
There is a time. There's a time and place for doing that, and sometimes it's just this is what we have to do because it gives us the best chance. But we all know all it takes is one mistake when you're parking the bus, and now you're losing, and now you have to open yourself up. In warfare, you would much rather, if you have your home, your palace, whatever it is, you would much rather defend further away from it because the closer you get to it, the more risk there is that you are going to sustain damage. So
exactly.
it's just it's an amazing transformation of the game. And again, I can constantly remind myself, don't grumpy old man it, but I don't think, and it's all cyclical anyway. At some point, everybody's going to go back to play 4-4-2 and long balls out of the back for
Oh,
yeah.
It's not
You're right, Alexi.
4-4-2.
It's a misguided goal,
no.
especially for teams that just don't have the chops for it. You know,
It's amazing. It's an amazing game. It's an amazing game.
it is. Great game.
Alexi, thank you for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. This has been a fantastic show. Where can people follow you? What are you working on, and how can we what you got? What you got?
I appreciate it. So obviously, if you want to scream and yell at me, you can go on X, and I'm up each and every day and screaming and yelling back and doing all that kind of stuff. My State of Union podcast comes out twice a week with my good friend David Mossy, and we look at the game through the lens of red, white, and blue colored glasses. So it's a U.S. focused type of soccer podcast. Again, we bring you what's happening around the world, top level type of stuff, but then we also bring you what the players are doing out there. And I just want to reiterate what I said earlier in the pod. I am just, from an old guy, been around a long time, all right? It warms the cockles of my redheaded American heart to see how far the game has come, and more importantly, to see this, what was underground for a while, but now is above ground in terms of the independent media, and it mirrors what's going on in general in media out there. Because there's some really interesting stuff that's going on. There's some really impactful stuff that's going on, and there's an equality, an egalitarian type of situation that's going on, where because of the technology that exists, anybody can go out there and anybody can have a platform and a microphone. Good and bad with that, but ultimately, I want as many voices out there talking about the game that I love and talking about things in the world that I love. And I can take and leave them as we go along, but the more the better, and not just the, ABC, NBC, and CBS that I kind of grew up on out there. The more there is, the better. And it's great for our soccer game to have, whether it's you guys talking about or anybody else out there, because I know there's a number of people out there. Will, I've been on his show, and I love what he's doing from an MLS perspective. But the list goes on and on and on of people out there, and so inevitably, people will come to me and ask me, will you appear on this show or this show or this show? And I always say yes, because I want to talk to people. Whether it's for one person or 100 people or 1,000 people or 1 million people, it doesn't matter to me. I enjoy talking about these things. I want to talk about these things. And ultimately, it's not about being good for me, which it is, but it's good for the game. And I love that.
Here, brother.
Man. Efcaristo Pale, man. I really thank you so much.
I want to say one thing to Alexi too, real quick, guys. I'm not muted. Lexi, it was a big honor for me personally. I think it was like 2009, 2010. You had this big Uncle Sam hat. I was with the American Outlaws, and I'm sure you probably don't remember, but you signed it for me. It was probably Rentschler Field or Gillette Stadium, and you signed it for me, and I thought that really made my day, and it's a huge honor for you to now be on Apostate Radio with me and Isaiah, and you've been great, man. Hopefully we'll get you back on.
Huge honor, man.
That's awesome.
Huge
Hopefully
honor.
I can see you guys in person at some point.
Yeah, it'd be great. Next time you're in New York City, let us know.
Absolutely. Matter of fact, hold on. Who is your? Well, I don't want to. You don't have to answer this if you don't want. Who's your team, and who do you think's going to make it big in MLS this year?
Who's my team? So I played for the New England Revolution, what then was the Metro Stars. Then I went over to the Kansas City Wizards, and then I finished up with the Los Angeles Galaxy. My most successful stop was with the Galaxy, and that's what I associate myself with most, but it's just relative to winning MLS Cup and doing that. So, and I live here in Los Angeles, and so it's right down the way. But I like big, bold, arrogant people. It's probably why I like Trump. I like people that want to do things, and I don't look at arrogance as a pejorative. I like people that say, we're gonna do this because it hasn't been done before, and I'm not quite sure how we're gonna do it, but we're gonna do it. And so, like
Elon with a big dream and to go to Mars, sort of thing.
Exactly, yeah. and it might take different twists and turns along the way, and there might be failures along the way. But yeah. I would rather fail trying than not try at all to do big bold things, and so I love big
Indeed.
super clubs out there, and it's not my money. So if they want to spend a lot of money,
Right.
they want to do big, bold things. That's awesome. And so I've always kind of gravitated to those out there. But ultimately, for me, it's about America. It's about this, this national team, whether it's the men's or the women's. It's near and dear to my heart. From a Fox perspective, we're so excited. We got the Gold Cup this summer. We got the World Cup in 2026. And I'm telling you guys, the summer of 2026 is going to be awesome. The circus is going to come and leave town. We got to use it. We got to harness it. But man, oh man, I'm talking to you today because of the power of what a World Cup can do to an individual.
Mm-hmm.
It changed my life forever, and it changed the landscape of soccer forever. And we can do that again in 2026 if we do it correctly. And I cannot wait. It's going to be fun.
Same here, brother. Can't wait.
Again, Alexi Lalas, the man, the myth, the legend, the
icon.
The icon. He has come here. He has blessed our show. And Alexi, we are the better for it, sir. Again, Efgaristo Poli, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate your time. Feel free to come back anytime, man.
Awesome. Yes.
Take care, my friend. We'll see you soon. All right.
All right, Alexi. Thank you. Well, that was great.
That guy is every bit who I thought he'd be.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Every
man.
bit the awesome guy that I thought he was going to be.
Yeah, as seen on TV, man. Yeah,
as seen on TV.
What a man of people, for sure. Because people don't realize, like, that is one of the faces of American soccer, like one of the faces, if not the face of American soccer for the last, 30 years, something like that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. I really enjoy even. And the one thing that I'm going to say, and we'll before we go, I like that he challenged me.
Yeah. Well, what do you expect? Alexi's challenged me too. He was rebutting things and questioning. I like that. Stress testing.
I really enjoyed that. Yeah. I like that he was able to make our, like challenge us on what we believed, especially with this particular situation with Taxi, and really with the culture in general. That man is the best ambassador for American soccer that we're going to get, ladies and gentlemen. I really mean that. That is our show for tonight. We have gone basically we've gone the 3 hours. How you feeling there, Nick? You good?
I'm good, man. I took some coffee. I took some Alpha Brain, so I was got energized by Alexi and Will coming on. And some of the nonsense videos we were watching ahead of that before they came on.
Yeah, man.
But it was great, man. It was a great show. I'm feeling good. I'm gonna crash after this, but what a great time, man. I'm really pleased to have Alexi and Will on. Really great.
Yeah. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you as always for joining us here tonight. We are greatly blessed by your presence here. You can follow us at Isaiah L. Carter. You can follow my guy here at Nostra Chavez. You can follow Apostate Radio NY. And so next week, due to a passing in my family, I think I've spoken about this before with Charles, we will not have a show on the 23rd. I'll be down in Baltimore for the memorial service for Charles alone. We're gonna bury our brother, and I'm looking. Well, I won't say I'm looking forward to it, but as I've said,
Gotta mourn, man. Gotta mourn. That's important.
I was talking to my brother earlier today, and we were discussing some things about him, and everybody is trying to figure things out in their own way. Like they're trying, within my family with Charles's passing, and it's going to be good to go down there and just remember him as the good man that he was. He was a very good man that had a hard life, but he was a good man, and we love him. And so next Sunday, the 23rd, we're going to take a little bit of a break, and then we'll be back on March 30th.
That's good, man. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see if maybe we could do some midweek stuff too, like before or after, if you guys miss us too much. But that's a good break. I mean, I got plans too to see some friends on Sunday in New Jersey, so that actually works well for me as well, because it would have been I'd have to rush to get back. So that actually works out. But yeah, that's great, brother, to mourn your brother there, and see your family, all your friends you guys have together. That's so important. And it, generally, like when you lose a loved one like that, like it brings everybody closer together too. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So again, folks, thank you so much for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you for I guess working through this. I know soccer is not something that a lot of people really consider, given this particular audience. But I'm telling you right now, go to games, go to a match.
Oh, they're fun.
You will.
They're fun.
Few things
and
will
more
be
affordable, and they're outdoors. That's all
great.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I firmly believe that soccer, being like Nick just said, it's affordable, it's a lot of fun. Kids,
Quality.
it's something that all you need
Quality
is a ball.
football too. Quality
You know
soccer.
what I mean?
Like,
New York City Football
is a lot
Club,
better than it used to be. It's a lot
hell
better.
of a lot better.
Yeah.
I mean, even DC United. I mean, we drew last night 0-0 against Montreal, but it was a good game. It was a very, very entertaining matchup, and just really like a defensive battle, and like if you can get past the draws, a lot of people can't, but I highly recommend, ladies and gentlemen, go to a football match, check it out. It's like I said, it's affordable. You'll have a lot of fun. You'll enjoy the drums and the cheers. It's great.
And
That's
everything's
our
better
show.
live anyways. So
there you go. Thank y'all again for joining us. We greatly appreciate y'all on the 30th. Take
30th. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Good night from Brooklyn, and good night from the land of a Pete's.
A beat.